Shirley MacLaine didn't tell anyone about this until '91. It took her decades to hide the truth about what happened behind the scenes while she smiled in interviews. The real reason she needed different trailers, filming dates, and even publicity tours is now out in the open. Hollywood's most brutally honest star isn't holding anything back, from the screaming matches on set to the jealous rivalries that turned movie sets into battlegrounds. In the middle of the Great Depression, Shirley MacLaine was born in Richmond, Virginia. To support the family, her dad had many jobs. In his spare time, he taught psychology, helped run schools, and sold homes. Her mother was from Canada and used to be in plays. Shirley's whole future would be affected by that event. They named her after the famous child star Shirley Temple. It was almost like a sign. The younger Batty brother would also make it to Hollywood, but his last name was spelled differently. As a child, she and her family moved from town to town in Virginia because her dad had many jobs. Shirley was raised as a Baptist, but over time she would become interested in other religions. As a child, she wasn't just creative, she was also good at sports. She even played baseball with the boys. Because she hit more home runs than any of them, they called her Powerhouse. But Shirley was having trouble with her knees before all of that. They weren't strong, so she kept falling. To fix this, her mom signed her up for dance lessons. What began as treatment became a fixation. It made her happy. She went to the Washington School of Ballet and never missed a class. Because she was bigger than the other girls, she was often cast as men in plays. Backstage at one show, she broke her ankle, but she laced up her shoes and danced anyway. Shirley was that person, strong, determined, and never giving up. Still, she came to the realization that she didn't have the right feet for ballet. She left it that way. She didn't take long to decide what to do next. She went to New York for auditions before she even finished high school. Soon after, she got a small part in a train version of Oklahoma and became hooked on theater for good. After graduating from high school in 1952, she went to New York City. The directors couldn't say her real name, Shirley MacLaine Bay, so she changed it. She took the family name of her mother and changed her name to Shirley MacLaine. Soon, that new name would be written on signs. She first sang in the chorus of Me and Juliet by Rodgers and Hammerstein. People saw her even though she was just another dancer in the background. Then she fired. She was hired to help out with the pajama game. The star, Carol Haney, got hurt, so someone had to step in. It wasn't just a lucky break. It changed my life. Everyone was amazed by her performance, even producer Hal B. Wallace, who was in the crowd. After a few months it happened again. Haynes got hurt. Shirley filled in, and Wallace did something this time. Right then and there, Shirley went from being a backup dancer to an actor in Hollywood. Wallace told her that she could work for Paramount for 5 years. The year was 1950. Hollywood studios from the old days were still around, but the walls were beginning to fall apart. Wallace was known for seeing stars early on, and he saw something special in Shirley. She didn't even have time to get comfortable. After 3 months, she was in Vermont making her first movie with Alfred Hitchcock, which was called The Trouble with Harry. Shirley's performance was so great that she got a Golden Globe for Best New Actress. The movie was a weird, dark comedy. She went to the races after that. Around the World in 80 Days with a lot of big names was her next big part. At the time, no one knew that Shirley was pregnant while the movie was being made. Soon after, she had her daughter Sachi. Shirley and Steve Parker agreed that Sachi would live in Japan with her father and his mistress while Shirley worked on her business. Sachi would not have to stay at home. It was an odd setup that would later make the mother and daughter very angry with each other. There was finally a big break for her as an actor in 1958. She played Jenny in Some Came Running because Frank Sinatra chose her himself. Marilyn Monroe was meant to play the part, but when that didn't work out, Shirley took it. It was like she lived the part. She brought a stuffed dog to the set and stayed in character when she wasn't filming. Sinatra knew how to do things. He told the director that her character should die in the movie because he thought it would help her get an Oscar nod. He was right. Shirley's first Oscar nomination came from this role, which showed she wasn't just a funny actor. It wasn't so exciting behind the scenes, though. Wallace, the person who found her, is said to have made unwanted moves toward her. Shirley says that he once pushed himself on her, and she hit him hard in return. She finally sued him over the contract and won. After many years, she hit a Hollywood writer in the face after he wrote something mean about her. People read about that story all over the news, and it showed how stubborn she was. For The Apartment, which came out in 1960, she worked with director Billy Wilder and starred Jack Lemmon. It was one of the most famous movies of its time. Fran Kubelik was a weak woman who was stuck in a confusing office romance, and she played that character. A huge number of people saw the movie. 10 Oscars were nominated for it, and Shirley got her second nod for Best Actor. The show she put on that year was amazing, but she didn't win that year. She did win awards abroad, and the part made her famous all over the world. After many years, Charlize Theron would say that Shirley made the black and white movie seem like it was in color. Shirley MacLaine was in the middle of Hollywood's golden age in the 1960s. She wasn't just a pretty face interested in fame. The parts she picked out and the stories she wanted to tell were both very risky for her. Everyone was shocked when she got the lead role in The Children's Hour in 1961. It was a brave move. She played Martha Dobby, a woman who told her best friend, Audrey Hepburn, in a quiet way that she liked him. At that time, it was scandalous to even hint at a lesbian engagement. The Hays Code still called being gay a sexual abomination. In other words, what MacLaine did wasn't just dangerous, it was also new. Even stranger, she later said that she and Hepburn had never even talked about the main idea of the story. The eerie silence told me a lot about how taboo the subject still was. She killed herself at the end of the movie, which was very sad, and sadly Hollywood started to do that all the time, get rid of the gay person. She had still opened a door that other people were afraid to touch. After just 2 years, in 1963, MacLaine took a huge leap in a totally different direction and appeared in Irma Luce. This time, she played a lovely prostitute from Paris, which everyone liked. She was so good in the part that it got her another Oscar nod and a Golden Globe. The thing that stands out most is how hard she trained for the part. She and Jack Lemmon did spend time with a real sex worker to learn more about the life. What a real meeting! The woman had to leave in the middle to see a client. The movie made over $25 million at the box office, even though it only cost $5 million to make. Changed to fit today, that's the same as making $1 billion. It could have been a Marilyn Monroe movie, but she quit after reading mean things the director had said about her. MacLaine played the part and made it interesting. People even told Lemmon not to do it because of the pimp, but it all worked out in the end. The movie set a lot of records in the Netherlands. A lot of people across the country saw it. After that, Sweet Charity came out in 1969. MacLaine did more than just play the lead role. It happened because of her. She pitched the idea to Universal, made sure Bob F.S.Y. was in charge, and put everything together. While F.S.Y. had never directed a movie before, MacLaine had faith in him. He helped her out a lot years ago, and now she's repaying the favor. In those days, the project cost $20 million, which is about $150 million now. It showed how brave she was, even though it didn't make much money. It's crazy that the original Broadway part was made for F.S.Y. wife, Gwen Verdon, but she didn't get it. The studio wants to be known as more. That name was MacLaine. The end result was famous. It is still talked about how well she danced in the number If My Friends Could See Me Now. She had been working on her dance skills since she first started performing. Things were not going well behind the scenes. The producer wanted a smoother sound, but F.S. Y wanted to keep the rough, crude tone. MacLaine always stood by Y. MacLaine kept her star power strong even though she took a lot of risks. In the 1960s, she was nominated 5 times for Golden Globes and won 2 of them. Studios respected her decisions enough to back them up. On Sweet Charity, they even fired a top producer because he didn't agree with FSY. For an actress of that time, especially a woman, that kind of power was very rare. She did more than just look for money. In the early 1970s, she took time away from Hollywood to help George McGovern's bid for president. There was no doubt that she was one of the best-paid actors by the end of the decade. Big deals were made to her, like $750,000 for a project that never happened. That's more than $6 million today just to keep her name on it. In 1952, Shirley MacLaine met Steve Parker in a pub in Manhattan. 4 hours after they met, he asked her to marry him. It was hasty, exciting, and very sweet. They didn't get married right away. She was still working as a replacement in the pajama game to try to make it on Broadway. But in 1954, they finally got married, just as her Hollywood career was about to take off. But that success would make their relationship harder. He once told her, "I'll always be Mr. MacLaine if I stay in Hollywood." He went to Japan in 1956 to make his own way as a movie producer. After that, they lived on different countries. Even though most people didn't understand, they stayed married for 28 years and had what MacLaine later called her primary relationship. Their daughter Satch was born that same year. Shirley said it changed her life, and for a short time it looked like they were the perfect family. But Shirley was having a great time in Hollywood. In 15 years, she made 25 movies. She was in movies with famous people like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and Audrey Hepburn. There was no way she could have stayed at home. She said she never would have quit acting to be a mom full-time because everyone would have been more upset if she had. Her connection with Satch was shaped by how she thought. After many years, everything came back to the top when Satch told her side of the story. From the start, Shirley and Steve's marriage was not like any other. They were living an open marriage long before it became a big idea. She made it easy to understand. He lived in Japan. She lived in the United States. They did what they wanted and kept in touch. Shirley didn't feel bad about it. She was honest about the men she dated, including celebrities, politicians, and even a few prime ministers. She didn't care that people didn't get it. For her, having that freedom was what kept the marriage going. But then, when Satch was only 6, she was sent to Japan to live with her dad full-time. Shirley had a good reason. There was talk of a maid who drank, kidnappings, and the idea that kids weren't safe in Hollywood. Her daughter and she only saw each other in the summer. Satch said at the time that she never felt alone. The story changed as she grew up, though. She wrote in her 2013 autobiography that she felt alone and forgotten. She talked about being cut off from money and being left alone at boarding school for Christmas. She also talked about Shirley making up a job offer to break up one of Satch's relationships. Even though Shirley said the book was mostly made up, the damage had already been done. A long time ago, Shirley shocked everyone with another statement. When she was running for office in the 1970s, she slept with 3 different people in one day because she didn't want to be left out. She told Oprah about it in 2011. It wasn't a trick. It was a part of her. She said she fell in love with some of her co-stars, but not Jack Lemmon or Jack Nicholson because they were too nice or too risky. She was no longer after guys at that point. Terry, her rat terrier, had become her best friend. She really meant it when she said, "I'd rather have a funny, loyal dog than a man." Her life outside of acting was crazy, but her acting career stayed just as crazy. The two of them didn't get along at all from the start of their 1970 movie, Two Mules for Sister Sarah. Director Don Siegel said she wasn't girly and had too many balls. It was tense on set for everyone, and most of the crew got sick in Mexico to make things even worse. The movie did make money, but Clint Eastwood would never again had to settle for second place. This might have been linked to the time they spent with Shirley. After that, she shocked everyone in 1975 by making a film about China. The country had just begun to let the West in, so it was a rare chance to film daily life there. Because of this, the other half of the sky was strong and was even nominated for an Oscar. People hadn't seen that side of her before. Someone who wasn't just an actress, but also knew about politics and saw the world as a whole. She showed that new side of herself after not acting for a long time. She was almost never seen in Hollywood between 1970 and 1977. She wasn't doing nothing, though. She went to faraway places, stayed with African tribes, visited India, and even climbed mountains in Bhutan. It wasn't just a vacation for her. These trips were magical. She became interested in metaphysics, meditation, and rebirth. Critics saw that she had changed when she came back at the turning point. She was no longer being the clown. She was quiet, deep, and had something more. But even her return wasn't easy. She got into a fight with director Herbert Ross on the set of The Turning Point. She thought he was cocky. They had a fight about how to show her character. She knew a story about a woman who gave up everything for her family and wanted to show how hard it was on her mind. The movie did well, but it didn't win any Oscars, even though it was nominated 11 times. But it was clear that Shirley MacLaine wasn't just taking on parts. She told the truth both on and off film. Shirley MacLaine didn't just have a great career in the early 1980s. There were fights, drama, and scandals that would last for years and can still be heard in Hollywood. It all began in 1980, when Anthony Hopkins was shooting A Change of Seasons. What was meant to be a love story turned into a fight between two stars who couldn't stand to see each other. Hopkins later said Shirley was the worst actor he had ever worked with. Their acting styles and personalities didn't get along, and the production even fell apart when the director had to be changed in the middle of the shoot. They had to plan scenes so that they wouldn't run into each other. After many years, Shirley didn't forget a thing when she was asked about him. "I also don't like him." What came next was much worse than what came before. To describe Shirley in 1983, we used pet names. That's where the real fireworks started. Deborah Winger was her co-star. She was younger, wilder, and ready to fight for every bit of screen time. Sparks flew from the first time they met. Shirley wore a miniskirt, wings, combat boots, and a fur coat fit for a movie star. It went on under the direction of James L. Brooks. He let the chaos happen because he thought it would make for good TV. It could have, though. The set turned into a fight when no one was there. There were rows of yelling. There were hours wasted because neither actor would leave her trailer. There were also times when no one could believe what they were seeing. Like the time Winger left the practice, came back, lifted her skirt, and farted at Shirley. Or the time she licked Shirley's leg while Jack Nicholson stood still nearby. She would always be late to mess with Shirley, make fun of her age, and cause trouble. After many years, Winger wasn't sure if it was true or not, but he did grin and say it was. Then there was a fight for the top spot. Winger first asked for her name. Shirley worked in the business for decades, was nominated for an Oscar, and left a memory. Winger was on a roll and didn't mind pushing. Things got so bad that Paramount had to make a deal. Shirley would be the star in the U.S. and the player abroad, but the harm was already done. During the press trips, they had to stay away from each other. During the opening, they sat in different parts of the theater. Hollywood was very busy. It was clear that this wasn't just a movie, there was a war, but won the last round for sure. Both women were up for Best Actress on April 9, 1984, and they were in the same room. It wasn't just an award when Laurence Olivier opened the package and saw Shirley MacLaine's name on it. It was a powerful blow. her hand on her Oscar as she walked to the stage and said, "I deserve this." Winger tried to smile. It didn't touch down. Shirley told her she did a great job, calling it turbulent brilliance. But it came off as rude, and everyone knew it. It was over. Shirley had won both on and off screen. It was the same year that her life off screen was changing. She officially split up with Steve Parker, whom she had been married to since 1954. In what she called an open marriage, they had lived on different countries. He stayed in Japan. It was her job in Hollywood. Their daughter, Sachi, spent most of her childhood with her dad, and in her memoir written years later, you can see the mental scars she had. They broke up, but Shirley still called Parker the love of her life. Then went out on a limb. In 1983, she put out the book that made people think differently about her. The point wasn't to act. It was about ghosts, UFO, past lives, and being outside of your body. The book sold a lot of copies and made people laugh. Letterman made fun of her. People laughed, but they kept reading. 30 million people watched the 1987 ABC movie based on the book. Shirley flew to the moon, met aliens, and talked to spirits in different scenes. The critics were confused. The audience was split. Shirley didn't move, though. Everything is true. She told Larry King that everything she said was true. That wasn't even the strangest part. In the end, Shirley said she had lived in Atlantis. That her ex-husband had killed her as a Mongolian hunter in a past life. That she was related to Rampa, a warrior spirit who lived 0 years ago, through a woman who drank red wine and spoke with an old-fashioned accent. Carl Shawn said it was silly. Her fans didn't think so. She must have kept going, though, not sorry for anything and not afraid at all. In Hollywood, Shirley MacLaine was a celebrity who had a long and storied career. Behind the scenes, though, Sachi Parker, her daughter, had a very different life. One that is far away, confusing, and heartbreaking. I was only 2 years old when her father sent her to live with him in Japan. Because her father was an alcoholic, she wasn't raised by either parent. Instead, she was raised by a governess. Shirley, on the other hand, was busy becoming famous all over the world, so she rarely came over and was never really there. Every visit felt more like seeing a stranger than seeing my mom again. Sachi tried to make sense of her strange childhood as she got older. She finally wrote her story in a book called Lucky Me. She did this in the hopes that it would help her find peace or even bring her closer to her mother. But what she said was not at all normal. Shirley had told her that her real father was an astronaut in another world and that her father was a clone. Shirley threw the book out completely, calling it fantasy. But I stuck to what she said. Even though she tried, the emotional gap between them grew. Without a doubt, the happy finish she had always longed for would never come true. Shirley was having a creative comeback while that part of her life was being written about in the news. She played Mary Kay Ash in the 2002 movie Hell on Heels, which was about the beauty business. People who saw it thought it was smart and funny, and she was even nominated for a Golden Globe. The way Shirley played the part with confidence and charm showed everyone that she still had a lot of ability. Then, Shirley came back to the big screen in a big way in 2005. In the same year, she was in 3 big movies, Bewitched, In Her Shoes, and Rumor Has It. She played a lot of different roles, from witchy matriarchs to strict aunts. These roles gave her career a new boost and introduced her to a younger group of moviegoers. She had parts in Valentine's Day, Closing the Ring, and Bernie over the next few years, showing that getting older hadn't dulled her spark. In 2012, Shirley did something else that no one saw coming. She became a part of the cast of Downton Abbey. As Martha Levinson, the American mother-in-law who was loud and sure of herself, she caused trouble in the proper British home. Fans loved her scenes with Maggie Smith because they were funny and showed how different their cultures were. Shirley said she had never seen the show before she got the part, but once she got to the set, she loved how classy the show was and was happy to be a part of it. As she kept working, she kept getting awards and medals. In 1998, the Cecil B. Deal Award came from the Golden Globes. She won the AFI Life Achievement Award in 2012, and stars like Julia Roberts and Jack Nicholson were there to honor her. After that, in 2013, President Obama gave her the Kennedy Center Award. These weren't just trophies, they were awards for a lifetime of work in the arts, from her early days on Broadway to her last movie parts. Shirley MacLaine is still as brave and honest as ever at age 90. In recent weeks, she told a secret that made waves in Hollywood. It was awful for her to work with Anthony Perkins. In 1958, they were both in The Matchmaker together. It wasn't so pretty behind the scenes, though. Her pay for the movie was $25,000, while Perkins' pay was $75,000 for the same work. Perkins was the one who pushed for her to get equal pay, which is funny, but that didn't help their relationship at first. Shirley said she never felt safe around him. The vibe between them was just not right. She said one time that she would never know who Perkins was. "I'm not sure what an act is," she said. Yes. At the time, Perkins was privately having problems with who he was. The studio was putting pressure on him to end his relationship with Tab Hunter and even go to conversion therapy. At the time, Shirley didn't know the whole story, but the gap between them stuck with her. No longer does she want to change the past. She's okay with her need for alone time and even likes it. In her book, I'm Over All That, she said she'd always choose her little dog Terry over a guy. She wasn't playing. She had such a close relationship with that rat terrier that she wrote a book with him called Out on a Leash. She talks and the dogs talk in each chapter, and they talk about everything from gay rights to alien life. That worked, no matter how strange it sounds. She said that they had a stronger bond than most people think. She thought they had been together for a long time in ancient Egypt. That really does mix the mysterious with the personal, and it's always done with a wink. She keeps writing even now. It's hard to tell the difference between her later books, which are honest, strange, and reflective, and those books are full of Hollywood rumors and spiritual insights. As she got older, she talked about how she was questioning medicine and becoming open to alternative therapies like acupuncture and homeopathy. She was able to think more deeply about these things after moving to a quiet house in Santa Fe. It comes up a lot when she talks about it, how the strange little events that happen in life could be signs of something bigger. Life has never been just about fame or money, that's for sure. We want to know who we are, why we're here, and what will happen next. She's one of the few people who still asks, what about the soul? In a world that's moving quickly toward technology, maybe that's why people are still listening after all these years.